If you're looking for a resource on the quickest and easiest way to self-publish your book, this is probably not the video for you. There's a lot of resources out there for that particular subject, but this isn't one of them because the truth is, it's not a matter of if you can self-publish, it's a matter of how to do it without unintentionally damaging your revenue potential. But before I get into choosing between the 4 different kinds of publishing that you have available to you, I want to make sure you get a free resource that will help you make these crucial decisions long after this video is over. I want to make sure you have them when you need them and not have to go searching for this video again. So just click the link below right now and then keep watching. Brand new world. There's so many ways to publish a book now. It's amazing, and everyone is so grateful for technology. But when it comes down to it, it's kind of overwhelming to look at all the options. So I want to make it really simple for you, and I want to first sort of preface this by saying, yes, I'm a publishing company, and why the heck would a publishing company be explaining to you all the different options that you have and recommending options that may or may not include my company? It's because I want to make sure that you have what's right for you, because you have an important message that needs to get out into the world, and it may not be appropriate for me to publish your book. It may not be appropriate for any other major publisher to publish your book. It may be appropriate for some other option to come along. So I want you to understand exactly what those options are and what the pros and cons are so that you can make a smart decision that's going to be best for you and your book and your business, and most importantly, it's going to be best for your readers. So let's get started. 4 ways that you can publish right now. We're not talking about ebooks, we're not talking about audiobooks, we're talking about print books and how you're going to go about doing either print on demand or traditional offset printing. We're talking about the types of publishing models here, which is basically saying these are different types of publishing companies that you can go with. So with each of these different options, there are pros and there's cons. Okay, there's good reasons to go with them, and then there's reasons that you may decide not to go with them. Most of these pros and cons have to do with varying costs around how much control you have over your manuscript and your book, how much time you have available and how much time it takes to actually get this book out there, and how much money it's either going to cost you on the front end or the back end, because publishing a book is going to cost you one way or another, and you need to decide which way is right for you. So the 4 different ways are traditional publishing, hybrid publishing, self-publishing, and indie publishing or independent publishing. Sometimes that's called small press. Those are all the same thing. So let's start with traditional. This is the big publishing houses, the Random House, the Wiley, the Simon & Schuster, the companies that have been around for 100 years and who have been the gatekeepers to authordom for time immemorial. They are the hardest to get into. You have to prove that you have an audience. You have to prove that you will be able to sell books because they are in the business of profiting from your book. Now, that may be good for you and it may not be good for you. It depends on what your goals are, what your business is, and what exactly you might gain from having their name on your book. Having a big publishing house backing your book is an ego boost. There's no doubt about it. It's really great to say, yes, I got a great advance from a well-known publisher. People are so impressed. It looks great. Looks great on a resume or a bio or whatever. It looks great on your little imprint on your spine. Like, it's like, yeah, that's my traditional publisher. But here's the deal with traditional publishing. They're in the business of making money, and they're in the business of making money off of you. You are their product, like you are what they're selling. And so what that means is that you are going to collect less of your own profits because they are doing some work getting things out there. They're probably doing less of getting things out there than you think they're going to do, especially if you're thinking that they're going to market for you, because traditional publishers don't really do a lot of marketing, especially after the first couple of weeks after a launch. They're going to request or demand many of your rights, which means that they're going to have control over your cover. They're going to have final say over what actual content is in your book. They're going to have final say over where you can sell it, when you can sell it, things like that. And in some cases, that's fine. In some cases, you know, it's worth it to have that clout to help you get into a bookstore. For example, if your main option or your main goal is to be a speaker and you want to be, in all the airport bookstores, for example. So there are good reasons to go with traditional, but I happen to think that the cons outweigh them. I think that the control that they take is a little bit much. And also, the royalty fee structure tends to be extremely heavy on the publisher. The publisher is going to take probably 90%, possibly as low as 70% of the profits from your book. And that can be significant. If you're not worried about how much money you're bringing back in from the sale of your book, that's fine. And maybe you're going to make more money on speaking engagements, and it's more important to actually be out there with a book that's published traditionally. But if you want to be able to have more control over your book and make sure that you are collecting a fair or more than fair amount of your revenue, then you want to make sure that you have a different option available to you. So I'm going to skip down to self-publishing now, because one of the options is hybrid and it's in between the two. So I want to explain both before we talk about the middle. So self-publishing means you do all the work and you pay all the fees. There are not insignificant fees involved in self-publishing. You have to buy an ISBN, you have to manufacture barcodes, you have to have a cover design done, you have to have an interior layout done, you have to, there's all kinds of different things that you have to do. Some of them cost money, some of them you can do yourself to save a little bit of money, but the chances of you doing it well and professionally and having a really good cover design, for example, I don't recommend any of my authors do their own cover designs, even if they're designers, because web design is different from print design, and book design is a very specialized field, and it's really important that you have a cover that is industry standard and looks professional, because if you don't, people are going to immediately judge you and say, oh, they don't know what they're doing. That was like a homemade book. We don't want your book to look homemade. Doesn't mean you can't self-publish. It just means that there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes into what actually happens with publishing. And when you're self-publishing, you have to take the time to learn how to do it. And there's so much information out there, and things change so quickly that a lot of that information gets outdated, but it's still on the web, and so you might stumble across it and not realize that it's from 10 years ago. So it's just important to understand that if you are going to self-publish, you're going to put in a lot of work up front. You're going to save some money, but you are going to have to spend some money as well. However, the pro part of that is that you're going to have complete control. You decide what your cover looks like. You decide what's on the back cover. You decide what's in the content. You decide what gets edited in and what gets edited out. Might be a pro, might be a con, because you're deciding on the cover, you're deciding on the back cover, you're deciding on the editing. Like, if you don't know what you don't know, that might be a bad thing. Who knows? All right, so self-publishing involves something called an ISBN. This is where the crux of things get weird. You have to buy an ISBN, which is an International Standard Book Number. If you're in the US, you buy them. If you're in other countries, in Canada, for example, the government gives them away for free. But an ISBN is a number that's associated with your book. Now, when you self-publish, what most people do is they upload their book to what used to be CreateSpace. CreateSpace was closed and now is run by KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing. It's owned by Amazon. And they upload it and they go press play, they proof the thing, they say, yes, this looks great, put it up on Amazon, and they're done. During that process, which is actually a lot longer than the process I just described, during that process, there's a little thing that says, would you like us to give you an ISBN for free? And of course, people go, oh my gosh, yes, I'm going to save $100. Click. So what happens when you self-publish and you allow another company to give you the ISBN, that means that they are technically the publisher of record. They are the ones that are associated with that number. And when they put a barcode on your book, very often, just because you don't know any better, there's a number that goes on that barcode that's 9000, and there's a bunch of zeros. What that means is that the barcode is empty. There's no information in it. And even if a bookstore wanted to sell that book, because it says 9000 whatever, they know that there's no information. They couldn't scan it even if they wanted to, which means they don't know what the price is. And there's a whole lot of problems that can happen from that. Now, if all you're going to do is sell it on Amazon, or you're going to print your own copies and sell them at the back of the room at a speaking engagement, or you're going to do a free plus shipping funnel, things like that, and you never plan to sell it in a retail outlet ever, it's fine. It's a great way to save a little bit of money. But there's another way that you can do it that will actually not cut off those extra options of selling in a retail outlet. But before we get to that, I'm going to go back. So we've got traditional publishing, we've got self-publishing, and then right in the middle is hybrid publishing. Hybrid is a little bit in between the two. It's getting some of the benefits of traditional and some of the benefits of self-publishing. What it's really doing is sharing the cost and the risk that's involved in publishing your book. So rather than taking a whole lot of your revenue on the back end and putting in a whole lot of effort on the front end like a traditional publisher does, and rather than making sure that you do everything on your own, a hybrid company will take a little bit of money up front, and a little bit could be, several $1,000s. It could be tens of thousands of dollars. It just depends on what kind of book it is and what kind of company it is. They're going to take some money up front to help alleviate the costs of the actual production, so the design costs, the formatting, all the things that need to happen. And then they're going to do the work for you that you would normally have to do yourself with self-publishing. They're going to help consult with you, but give you a professional cover design. They're going to do a professional layout. They're going to make sure your barcode has an ISBN and a barcode that's correct. They're going to help make it more industry standard because they're familiar with how books are supposed to be presented and how books are supposed to be put together. So hybrid is a great option for you if you're willing to pay a little bit of money to save yourself a lot of time, energy, and hassle on the front end. You are going to give up a little bit of your revenue, but not nearly as much as you would give up with traditional. So typically a hybrid publisher is going to ask for a 50-50 or maybe a 60-40 as far as the royalties are concerned. So you got traditional, they're going to do it all for you. They take a lot of the control, they take a lot of the profit. Hybrid, it's kind of 50-50. They're going to help you, they're going to be more of a partner with you. Self-publishing, it's all on you. Hopefully you know what you're doing. If you don't, there's nobody to tell you that you don't know what you're doing. So it's a little bit of a risk. When I say self-publishing the right way, which is in the title of this video, what I want to talk about is independent publishing or small press publishing. There's a semantics thing here because really what it is self-publishing. You're doing it yourself, but you're doing it in a slightly different way. You're not letting CreateSpace or Amazon or somebody else give you an ISBN. You're actually going to buy your own ISBN. And you can do that in different ways depending on what country you live in. But you're going to set yourself up as a publisher who just so happens to publish your book. Some publishers only ever publish one book, and that's okay. And so you're setting up an independent small press to publish your book, or you are going to other independent small presses, which there are many, who may have only published 1 or 2 books, but who might be a great fit for your book. And those people are going to give you more control over your book, especially if you're doing it yourself. They're going to give you a much higher return on the revenue that you're collecting. They're going to give you more control over what you're advertising, what your cover design looks like, and you may or may not have to pay a little bit of a fee depending on how they're set up. So you've got traditional, you've got hybrid, you've got self-publishing, and you've got independent, indie, or small press publishing. Those are your options. Now, underneath each of those options, there are plenty of little tweaks because every company and every entrepreneur out there is trying to find a way to differentiate themselves. So there may be a hybrid company that collects a lot of money up front, but doesn't take any of your royalties. Maybe there's, or gives you 100% royalties, I should say. Or maybe there is another little indie company who is like, oh, I've only ever wanted to publish my books, but yours is amazing. Can we work together to make yours awesome, and we'll split the profits? It just depends. So there's a million little variations in between these major 4. But what you really need to realize from this video is that there's pros and cons to each one, and they have to do with time, money, energy, and your control over your actual product. So just make sure that you're aware of all the options and you weigh out the pros and cons and you think about what is right for you, your business, and your book. And most importantly, what's right for your reader. How are you going to get this book out into the world? Depending on that, depending on your model that you want to get out into the world, it's going to help dictate which publishing option is going to be right for you. So I know that was a lot. That was like a fire hose of information, and I'm sure that you're kind of going, whoa, holy crap. I don't want you to like stop writing your book because you're overwhelmed with publishing options, okay? It's really just a matter of weighing what is most valuable to you, control, time, or money. And if you're ready to explore those publishing options, I'm happy to help. I only want to make sure that you have the best option for you. Some people might be my publishing company. Some people, it might be a different option. But I want you to click the link below and get a free copy of my book, The Profitable Business Author. And when you do that, you'll be able to get in touch with us and we'll be able to explain more about publishing options that are right for you.